Hey you guys, what's going on today? I thought I would talk about the NFL draft because the first round just ended. Day one has officially finished and all 32 teams have picked, well, except for the Patriots because they traded their picks away. But all teams have picked that are picking in the first day, and it ended up pretty interesting. Not what you would normally expect. A lot of trades were made, a lot of interesting moves, but yeah. I just wanted to go over each pick and kind of talk a little bit about them. Obviously, with the first overall pick, the Browns took Myles Garrett. Nothing too complicated there. Obviously, they were going to take Garrett. Garrett's the number one pick in the draft. It's been said for months now, so really obvious. Nothing too special or surprising there. With the second pick, the Chicago Bears traded up from 3 to 2 to get Mitch Trubisky. Now, this one is really, really bad in my opinion. Trubisky only was a one-year starter, and he really didn't do a whole lot. Obviously, though, if you watch film on him, he is a very good quarterback, but he doesn't have a whole lot of experience against high-level competition. 1 year. I mean, you're really banking on that fact that this guy, he is a very raw talent, but he doesn't have the experience to really take charge of an NFL huddle. So hopefully they can develop him, but for what they gave up, I don't know if it's really worth it. With the third pick, the San Francisco 49ers picked Solomon Thomas. This is one that I sort of expected. If they weren't going to go for Trubisky, I expected them to go for Thomas because Solomon Thomas is just a beast. I think he is maybe the best or second best edge rusher in the game. I actually don't have Myles Garrett rated as number one. I have him rated somewhere between 2 and 3, and I think him and Solomon Thomas really compete for that number one edge rusher spot. So I think San Fran actually made a really good move by picking up the draft picks that Chicago gave them and getting Solomon Thomas. I think it was a good move for San Fran. Really a smart move in the right direction for that franchise. The fourth pick, the Jaguars took Leonard Fournette. This one's pretty interesting. A lot of people don't like that they took Fournette that high. They don't like drafting the position in the top 5 or even the first round. But I think, Leonard Fournette will work out pretty well for the Jaguars. I think they had a little bit more of a need at quarterback. Blake Bortles, obviously, he's kind of flip-flopped the past couple years. If they feel confident in him where they don't need to take a quarterback, then I think this is a perfect fit. However, if Blake Bortles starts to fail, we could see some potential problems. However, I think Leonard Fournette will be a fantastic player for the next 10 years. So we'll just have to wait and see how the Jaguars do, how Blake Bortles specifically does. With the fifth pick, the Tennessee Titans took Corey Davis. Now, this was an interesting one for me. I wanted to see who was going to be the first wide receiver. Was it going to be Corey Davis or Mike Williams? Mike Williams, he won the championship last year. He was a beast. He was expected to be the first wide receiver off the board. But Corey Davis, he always was a good player. He was also really highly regarded, but he didn't get to run the combine. He didn't get to work out with any teams. So to see him taken at number 5 overall is really just, it's a very interesting move, but it's a move I understand. And I think the addition of Corey Davis will make the Titans a serious playoff contender. Overall, good pick for Tennessee. For number 6, the Jets picked Jamal Adams. This is a really good pick for the Jets. They definitely needed some help in their defense, and Jamal Adams is arguably one of the best defensive players on this draft. He's just insane. I think they really lucked out that he managed to get to 6, and I think it was just the best position or the best pickup for them to take. For the number 7th overall pick, the Chargers have selected Mike Williams. Obviously, not too far away from Corey Davis, only 2 picks. I think the Chargers were really going to go between Mike Williams and Corey Davis, whichever fell in their lap, and they got Mike Williams. They need receivers, but Mike Williams, he doesn't really separate too well, and he's not the threat that the Chargers really need. However, he does he's like an Alshon Jeffrey. Anything you throw up, if it's a 50-50 ball, Mike Williams will come down with it. So overall, I think it's a good pick for the Chargers. It really sets them up very well for the next season. With the 8th pick in the draft, the Carolina Panthers select Christian McCaffrey. And oh my God, I was so happy for this. Everyone wanted Christian McCaffrey to go to the Eagles. I, however, did not. Here's the problem with Christian McCaffrey. He's a gadget player. He can be a wide receiver, he can be a slot receiver, and he can be a running back, a third down running back. He cannot be a true number one running back, a true bell cow back. He can't take the ball 20 to 30 times a game. If you have someone like that, then absolutely you can take a Christian McCaffrey. He can fill a role like Darren Sproles does with the Eagles. But for him to be like a number one guy, I just struggle to see it. So hopefully it works out. Cam Newton obviously needs more weapons, so hopefully Christian McCaffrey works out for the Panthers. But overall, I was just happy he's not on board for the Eagles. With the 9th pick overall, the Bengals have actually decided to go offense. I was expecting them to go with Rueben Foster because it seemed like a perfect fit for them. But instead, they select John Ross, which is very interesting. John Ross is definitely a deep vertical threat. He trained under Deshaun Jackson, and he looks a lot like Deshaun Jackson when he plays. Overall, I think this really helps the Bengals, actually. They have AJ Green, John Ross, and Tyler Eifert. I think their offense is deadly now. I don't know too much about their running game, but if they can actually bolster that up later in the rounds, because running back is very deep in this class, I think the Bengals are very good, and they might actually win a game in the playoffs. So good on you, Bengals. With the 10th pick, the Kansas City Chiefs have traded up to get Pat Mahomes II. This is interesting. Obviously, I've been a fan of Andy Reid for a long time, and I know what he can do with quarterbacks. I'm surprised that he took Pat Mahomes over Deshaun Watson or Deshaun Kaiser. I kind of get it, though. Patrick Mahomes looks a lot like Brett Favre. He's very unpolished, but he has a significantly strong arm. Like, he can throw the ball insanely fast, insanely far. Overall, Alex Smith is still going to be the starting quarterback, but once Alex Smith is gone, obviously Andy Reid is going to coach the living hell out of Patrick Mahomes, and I think he's going to be a very, very good quarterback. So definitely something to watch for with the future of Kansas City. With the 11th pick overall, the Saints have picked Marshawn Lattimore. This one is fairly obvious. The Saints definitely need cornerback. Their secondary is terrible, and they decided to get the best corner in the game. It was really just an obvious pick for them. I don't think anyone expected Marshawn Lattimore. Like, if he was on the board, I don't think anyone expected him to go past the Saints. So, good on you, Saints. With the 12th pick overall, the Texans select Deshaun Watson. Now, this one is definitely interesting for me because I think Deshaun Watson is the best quarterback in this draft. He has the most experience. He's won something. And I think overall he's the most pro-ready. And obviously with the Texans not really having a solid quarterback, they can definitely let this guy step onto the field day one. I don't think he's going to be pro-ready day one. I don't think he's as good as Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, Connor Cook from last year. But I think Deshaun Watson, you give him a year or two, he will develop into a pro-level quarterback. So good on you, Texans. Obviously, though, they gave up a lot to get him. But I think it's normal. If you give up a lot, you're trying to get the quarterback of the future. With the 13th overall pick, the Cardinals select Hassan Riddick. Now, this one's interesting to me. He can play inside, outside, and blitz. I don't really know where they plan to line him up, but the Cardinals definitely do need linebackers. And I just thought this was interesting that they took Riddick over Rueben Foster. Obviously, Foster has character concerns, but still, Riddick definitely does fit their need and what they want. So overall, I think it's a pretty decent pick. Not the worst pick, not the best pick, but it's favoring more towards good than bad. So, good job, Cardinals. With the 14th pick, the Eagles have selected Derek Barnett. This one is... oh, it's complicated. The Eagles definitely need corners. Gareon Conley, he had the rape accusations. So for the Eagles, this is definitely a tough situation. Do they go Rueben Foster? Do they go Derek Barnett? They chose to go Barnett. And I'm actually not upset with this. They get probably the best pass rusher in the league. I have him rated as number 1. He's definitely a beast. The only problem is our D-line is stacked. We have depth for days. I don't know where he's going to line in. I don't know if they're going to cut Chris Long, Vinny Curry, someone like that. But I don't care. I mean, if we don't have a secondary, we might as well have a strong front 7. So it definitely helps, especially with all the top-level corners getting injured or having off-the-field issues. I think it definitely plays to our strengths to build up our front 7 rather than waste a pick on a guy, reaching for a corner position. So I think overall, decent pick. Good job, Philly. With the 15th overall pick, the Colts select Malik Hooker. This one's interesting. He may be the next great safety. A lot of people are comparing him to Ed Reed. I don't know if he's necessarily Ed Reed great, but he definitely can develop into that level, and he looks very promising. Overall, Colts did a pretty decent job there. With the 16th overall pick, the Ravens have selected Marlon Humphrey. This one was definitely interesting. Obviously, not a lot of teams want to go with Gareon Conley, so they went with the next best thing, which would be Marlon Humphrey. I think it's interesting. I definitely like what they have going on there with the Ravens now, but I don't know if I would have gone Marlon Humphrey over Gareon Conley, even with the issues that are coming out right now. After all the testing and the fact that there's no charges, I probably would have taken the risk and went with Conley, but still, decent pickup, not too bad. With the 17th pick overall, the Redskins have selected Jonathan Allen from Alabama. This guy, I think he fell off a lot. For him to be compared to Myles Garrett, Derek Barnett, Solomon Thomas, I think it's a little ridiculous. He's definitely a good defensive end, but I don't think he's in that same level as them. I think he's definitely a little bit off, but he's still a very good player. And overall, as an Eagles fan, I'm not too concerned with him. I think he's still going to have a tough time beating out our tackles, but we'll have to wait and see. You never know. He could end up being one of the best edge rushers in this class. We'll just have to wait and see. With the 18th pick, the Tennessee Titans have selected Adoree Jackson, the cornerback from USC. This one is definitely interesting to me because I thought they would have went with Tre'Davious White, but they decided to go with Adoree Jackson. Maybe they just saw something more in him. He's definitely a game changer, and I think he's very good. I actually wanted the Eagles to get him in the second round if they're not going after Joe Mixon. So I think he's definitely a worthy pickup. And overall, Tennessee is really making moves to be a real playoff contender, assuming these players develop into pro-level talents. With the 19th pick overall, the Buccaneers actually made a phenomenal pick, O.J. Howard, the tight end. Look at what the Buccaneers have done. They are really priming themselves up to make the playoffs. They're not just getting good players, they're getting excellent players. And adding O.J. Howard is definitely a step in the right direction. I love what Tampa Bay is doing, and I definitely fear them going into the playoffs. With the 20th pick, the Broncos have selected Garrett Bowles, the offensive tackle from Utah. He's really interesting to me. He's 25, and he's an O-tackle, which I don't know if you guys know this, but O-tackle is just terrible this year. The talent there is it's absent. It's not very good. But Broncos definitely do need a tackle, so I could definitely see it working out. And I don't know. I guess it definitely fills a need, so good for you. With the 21 pick overall, the Detroit Lions have selected Jarrad Davis, the linebacker from Florida. Another one, it fills a need, but you could have went Rueben Foster. Obviously, character concerns, but I still don't think Jarrad Davis is even worth a first-round pick. I think he would have been better off in the second. There are a lot of players you could have gotten the first. Not the best pick, but it does fill a need, and it's definitely good for the Lions. We'll just have to wait and see how it plays out, but overall, I'm kind of 50-50 on that. With the 22nd pick, the Dolphins selected Charles Harris. This is another defensive end that I was actually really high on. I don't think he's top 5 in the pass rusher class, but I think he's really, really good. I think he's definitely a solid starter. He's not a star, but a starter, and that's what the Dolphins need. They need more consistent players than flashy players, and I'm glad to see the Dolphins taking that route. With the 23rd overall pick, the Giants selected Evan Engram, a tight end. Overall, I think this is decent. I would have rather seen the Giants go O-line because their O-line is absolute garbage. Even running back would have helped them. But they decided to go with tight end, which they do absolutely need. But overall, I'm not too afraid of this guy. Evan Engram, he is a very good tight end. He can catch, he can block, he's decent. But in terms of me being afraid of the Giants, I was already fearful of their wide receiver core. This just adds a little bit to it. Overall, though, I think we're still going to be able to take Eli Manning out. With the 24th overall pick, the Raiders decided to finally put it down and take Gareon Conley. I was surprised to see Gareon Conley going in the first round. I expected him to drop to the second or third, but the Raiders actually stepped up. They took the risk, and they got Gareon Conley. Gareon Conley is arguably the top 3 in the top 3 corners of this draft, and I am happy to see him go. I wish he would have went to my Eagles, but the Raiders, they stepped up. They took him. They definitely got a good player. They got a great value on him with 24th overall. I'm good for him. I'm happy they decided to step up and take that. With the 25th pick, the Cleveland Browns pick Jabrill Peppers. Jabrill Peppers, interesting fit in Cleveland. I would have preferred to see them go offense, but I don't know. Maybe they're just developing for the future. Obviously, they're in full rebuild mode. They have a ton of picks going into the next 2 years. I definitely think he can be a developmental talent that they can use somewhere, but right now it doesn't look like he fits a whole lot, but he is a phenomenal player. So, I guess. With the 26th pick overall, the Falcons select Takaris McKinley. I don't know how to say it. His name is Tack. We'll call him Tack. He is a beast of an outside linebacker. He can be a linebacker. He can be an edge rusher. Definitely not the biggest guy out there, and he does have some medical issues. But overall, the Falcons do need help on that defense, and I am glad to see them address the position. With the 27th overall pick, the Bills select Tre'Davious White, cornerback. This is definitely a good pick for the Bills. They need a corner, and Tre'Davious White is definitely worth that 27th overall pick. He's very useful and very good at his position, and I'm happy to see him go in the first round, even though I think he's more of a second round. He's definitely a top-tier corner and one that you should look out for this upcoming season. With the 28th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Taco Charlton, the defensive end. He definitely helps their need. To be honest, the Cowboys just need a defense. They don't have anyone from their secondary last year, and their front seven is sort of weak. So to get a guy like Taco Charlton who can rush the quarterback, I think it's definitely worth it. Solid pickup, nothing flashy, definitely good for the Cowboys. With the 29th pick, the Browns, yet again, select another player, David Njoku. the tight end from Miami. He's definitely good. He's very raw, though. He's not a very polished talent. He's definitely a guy you need to develop. And I think he's pretty decent. Overall, though, the Browns' quarterback situation still needs to be addressed. So it'll be interesting to see what they do tomorrow. But right now, they're filling their team. They're filling all the holes in that team, and I think they're doing the smart thing. With the 30th overall pick, the Steelers have selected TJ Watt. TJ Watt is a beast of a linebacker. He can fill that pass rushing need, and he's not very good in pass coverage, but he is a Watt, and you kind of expect beasts from that family. So we'll definitely have to see how he performs as a Steeler, and he's playing in the same division as his brother, so it's going to be very interesting. With the 31st overall pick, the 49ers have selected Rueben Foster. Finally, someone selected him, and it had to be San Fran. This guy is a beast, and overall, I don't think he's going to do very well in San Francisco, but I think he does have the talent. He definitely fills that need that San Fran has, and overall, I'm a little jealous that the Eagles didn't get to pick him up, but San Fran did make the move. They stepped up, they took him, and they definitely got one hell of a player. With the 32nd overall pick, the Saints have selected Ryan Ramczyk, the offensive tackle from Wisconsin. This one is I mean, I don't know. Like I said, Ryan Ramczyk, offensive tackle, the depth at this position and the talent here is not very good. I think they can make use of him, but we'll just have to wait and see. I really don't know. Is Zach Strife, or is that his name? The Saints tackle, is he done? I don't know. I really don't know what they're doing on the Saints, but we'll see. Overall, though, this draft was very interesting, and I enjoyed watching it. But what do you guys think? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments below, and if you guys enjoyed this video, leave it a like and subscribe to the channel. I am Motionless Gaming, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.